Hey everyone, welcome to 7.3, talking about percents and decimals. Alright, so let's just review quick how to go from decimals to percents. If you have a decimal and you want to make it a percent, what do? Well, hopefully you guys remember back from, the last couple years, if you're going to a percent, you're going to move the decimal to the right. Okay, so 2%, move 2 places the right. Okay, so 0.471 as a percent actually becomes 47.1, and then I put it on the percent sign. Okay, so take a second. What does 4.22 become if you want to take it from a decimal to a percent? Well, was it a trick question? Is that not a decimal? Well, actually it is a decimal. It contains a decimal. But if you make it a percent, you move your decimal 2 places to the right, you actually get 422%, which is completely okay. Try these two. I want you to make 0.0013 a percent, and then I want you to make the number 8 a percent. Pause the video, try those two, play the video when you're done, and see if you get them right. Okay, hopefully you remembered you got to move the decimal 2 places to the right if you're making it a percent. So 0.0013 only becomes 0.13%, a very small percentage. Now how about 8? Well, where's 8's decimal? Remember, if we don't see it, it's hidden or invisible right off there to the right. So how do I make that into a percent? Still move it 2 places to the right, and I now have 800%. All right, well, how about going from a percent to a decimal, such as 23%? What is that as a decimal? Well, hopefully you remembered from your past that if I don't see the decimal, he's hidden right there, okay? And then I'm going to move him, if I'm going to a decimal, 2 places to the left. And then I'm going to drop the percent sign, so I'm just left with 0.23. So what if you've been given 498%? What is that as a decimal? Well, remember the decimal is invisible right there. Move him 2 places to the left, 4.98, and I drop the percentage sign. All right, try these. All right, why don't you take both of these and turn them into decimals. Pause the video, try it, and then play the video when you're done and let's see what you get. All right, so hopefully you remember that, oh, you know what? If it's a percent, I've got to move my decimal to the left, drop the percent sign, so 1, 2. That very small percentage becomes an even smaller decimal at 0.0004. You can almost think of filling in the gaps there with zeros. Now, this one right here, 168%, the invisible decimal's right there. Move him 2 places to the left, and I'm left with 1.68. You're done, and you're done. All right, so how about going from fractions to percents? Like, what if I was given 3/8 and I was asked to write that as a percent? Well, what would I do? Well, I know 3/8 is really like saying 3 divided by 8. Okay, and if I were to plug 3 divided by 8 in my calculator, which in this case, I could, I would get 0.375. But is that a percent? No, it's a decimal. How do I make decimals percents? I move to the right 2 places, leaving me with 37.5%. Now, what about 5/3 or something like that? Well, 5/3 is like saying 5 divided by 3. And if I did 5 divided by 3 in my calculator, well, I would get 1.6666, 1.6 repeating, right? So, is this a percent? Well, not quite. Got to move my decimal 2 places to the right to make it a percent. And really what I'm left with is 166.66666. And so I would actually write that as 166.6 repeating percent. So why don't you guys take a minute, pause the video, and write both of those fractions as percents. And play the video when you're done and see how you do. All right, so hopefully you recognize 7/8 means 7 divided by 8. And if you take 7 divided by 8, you're going to get 0.875. To make that a percent, move 2 to the left, or to the right, I'm sorry, and that becomes 87.5%, okay? Which is fairly close to 100%, and 7 over 8 is actually fairly close to being almost a whole 1. Okay, so we're checking our answer for reasonableness, and it makes sense. Now, how about 5 divided by 12? Well, it should be somewhere around 50%, because I know 5/12 is almost 6/12, and 6/12 is a half, and a half is 50%. So we should get just a little bit under 50%. Well, if you do 5 divided by 12, you're going to get this, 0.416 with the repeating sign over the 6. Okay, so what are you going to do with that to make it a percent? Well, remember, move twice to the right, and we're really left with 41.6 repeating percent. There you go. All right, so we're here in my garage, and I am doing a little project, okay? And my little project it uses a piece of PVC pipe, actually 2 pieces, okay? So I have this one piece, and it's, as you can see right there, 400 millimeters long, okay? But what I need is another piece that is 28.75% the length of this piece, okay? So this guy is 400 millimeters. I need something that's 28.75% of that length, okay? So it's going to be somewhere, probably about that long, but I need to know exactly what it is, and we can actually use some algebra to figure that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure this out. Again, said that this length right there was 400 millimeters, and I need something that is 28.75% of that length of 400. So what am I going to do? I need something, again, that's 28.75% of that length, which was 400. Okay, so we can pull some key things out here. 28.75% of, what does of mean? Well, of means multiply. Now, if I'm going to multiply, though, one thing I can't do is multiply by a percent. I have to make that percent into a decimal. So what's 28.75% as a decimal? Well, remember, if I'm going from a percent to a decimal, I have to go to the left 2 spots. So that makes it now 0.2875, and I drop the percent sign, times 400. And when I do in my calculator 0.2875 times 400, I get 115. And we're talking about millimeters. Should have kept that. Millimeters. Oh, I should have had millimeters up here. That says meters, sorry. Millimeters. Okay, 115 millimeters. So whereas this piece is 400 millimeters, I'm going to have something that's 115 millimeters, approximately going to look like that. 115 millimeters. If it's going to be 28.75% of this length. All right, so that is all I have for you guys. I look forward to seeing you in class, and have a good night.